Welcome to Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, Boise, Idaho, United States. Introduction. The Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, Boise, also known simply as St. John's Cathedral, is a Catholic cathedral and parish church located in Boise, Idaho, United States. It is the seat of the Diocese of Boise. A decade and a half after Idaho's 1890 statehood, Boise's rapid growth necessitated an increase of civic buildings in the state's capital city. During this period, Idaho's premier architectural firm began work on two large institutional buildings that forged the city's image as government and cultural center: the State Capitol Building in 1905 and the Cathedral of St. John's in 1906. As the most visible symbol for the Catholic Diocese of Idaho, the cathedral is a spiritual counterbalance to the secular, classical Capitol building visible a few blocks south. The Romanesque Revival Cathedral is a concert of stained glass, light, color, rare materials, and ornament that celebrates the strength of the Catholic faith. In 1893, Boise's Catholic population reached 7,000, warranting diocesan status. Bishop Glorieux established the Diocese of Boise under Pope Leo XIII, and envisioned a cathedral dedicated to St. John the Evangelist. When funds were secured, he hired parishioner Charles F. Hummel of Turtelot and Hummel to design the cathedral. The cathedral's cornerstone was laid in 1906 and construction continued in stages over a 15-year period. With no alternative place to worship, Mass continued to be held within the partially completed cathedral throughout construction, allowing the diocese to stay solvent and avoid incurring debt. Bishop Glorieux died in 1917 and his successor, Bishop Daniel Gorman, more comfortable with debt, accelerated the cathedral's completion. The church is constructed of local sandstone from the nearby Table Rock Quarry. Hummel based his design on the Romanesque Cathedral of Mainz in Germany, where he grew up, as well as Saint Sernin in Toulouse, France, as a secondary source of inspiration. The design, as first presented, included a pair of towers making the church appear tall and slender. Because the towers were never completed, the cathedral has a bulkier appearance not unsuitable for its Romanesque Revival styling. The church's large and blocky sandstone exterior and its first-story Romanesque entry arches establish the church's character. The stonework is left rough with refined ashlar joinery and finely cut upper window trefoil ornament. The front facade's focal point is a large 12-foot rose window articulated by 6 spokes. The window ensemble rests on 9 equally spaced Tuscan columns set within a false recessed window. On the interior, the rose window, which illuminates the upper choir, reveals itself more clearly as a stained glass window depicting Saint Cecilia, patron saint of musicians, who is surrounded by 6 angels playing musical instruments. On the exterior, the window assembly floats above 3 repeating Romanesque arched entries. Above the window rises the main roof center gable with St. John the Evangelist at its peak. The church building was individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1978. It was included as a contributing property of the St. John's Cathedral block when the rest of the parish buildings on Block 90 were added to the National Register in 1982. That same year, the parish buildings were included as a contributing property in the Fort Street Historic District. History of Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, Boise. Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, Boise was the dream of Bishop Alphonse Glorieux, under whose direction it was built. In 1884, Father Glorieux, the president of St. Michael's College in Portland, was appointed bishop of the newly created Vicar Apostolic of Idaho, for which Boise City was the seat. At that time, only 2 priests served the entire Idaho territory with its 1,500 parishioners. Within less than 10 years, under Bishop Glorieux's guidance, the vicariate grew to a population of 7,000 Catholics, with 10 priests, 27 churches, 4 schools, an academy and 2 hospitals. Due to growth and Idaho's statehood, the vicariate was elevated to the Diocese of Boise in 1893 with Bishop Glorieux at its head. By 1902, with population increasing, Bishop Glorieux realized the wood frame cathedral at the northwest corner of 9th and Bannock Streets would soon be obsolete. Built in 1876, it was Boise's second Catholic church. St. Patrick's on the old site of the old St. Alphonsus Hospital had been the first. It burned to the ground 18 days after completion in 1870. Bishop Glorieux purchased the site of the present cathedral, selected the plans of Turtelot and Hummel, the foremost architectural firm of the period in Boise, and in 1906 the cornerstone was laid. The bishop refused to allow the parish to go into debt to erect the cathedral, so it was built in stages. By 1912 services were held in the basement, and by 1916 the superstructure was completed. The bishop hoped to finish the cathedral before his death, but the coming of World War I frustrated his hope. A week after the Golden Jubilee of his ordination to the priesthood, Bishop Glorieux died in 1917. His successor, Bishop Daniel Gorman, undertook the completion of the cathedral, and in 1921, the church was dedicated. Following extensive restoration and rearrangement, the cathedral was rededicated in 1979. Architecture of Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, Boise. Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, Boise was designed by one of the first architectural firms to work in Boise, Turtelot and Hummel. Built in the Romanesque Revival style, the architects used the Cathedral of Mainz in western Germany and the Basilica of St. Sernin, Toulouse as their inspiration. The exterior is Boise sandstone, quarried just above the city at Table Rock. The building is cruciform in shape and measures 170 feet, 52 meters, from front to back, 95 feet, 29 meters, at the transepts and 65 feet, 20 meters, in the nave. The building was designed to have 2 towers topped with spires flanking the main facade, but they remain incomplete. A rose window graces the front of the church, and the center gable above the main entrance features a statue of St. John the Evangelist on its peak. Corbelling, a continuous band of small projecting arches, encircles the building at the roofline. A flesh rises above the crossing. The stained glass windows in the nave depict scenes from the life of Christ. The large window in the north transept depicts the Adoration of the Magi, flanked by windows portraying St. Alphonsus Liguori and St. Teresa of Avila. The south transept window depicts the Ascension and is flanked by windows portraying St. Patrick and St. Rita. The windows in the sanctuary depict St. Joseph on the north and the Blessed Virgin Mary on the south. In the apse are windows portraying the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The windows portraying the 4 evangelists. Although some of the art glass was installed by the Intermountain Glass Company of Boise, the stained glass windows were designed and installed by the John J. Kinsella Company of Chicago in 1920, except the window portraying the Holy Spirit in the center of the apse, which was installed in 1979. Saint Cecilia is depicted in the window above the pipe organ. The 3-manual, 2,900 pipe organ was installed by Tellers Kent in 1921. At the time, composer Frederick Fleming Beale, professor of music at the College of Idaho, was organist and choir director. The cathedral shines most brilliantly inside. It is here that the Romanesque style comes alive in a concert of colored light and ornamental elements of richly veined Italian marbles, tilework, gilded ornament, and wall paintings. With seating for 1,000 worshippers, St. John's is one of the largest worship spaces in the state. Its cruciform plan measures 170 feet long by 65 feet wide. The organ consists of 43 ranks, the equivalent to 3,000 pipes, which makes it one of the largest in Idaho. The barrel-vaulted ceiling is structurally false and functions as an acoustic canvas to enhance the choir music. St. John's has beautiful stained glass windows depicting the life of Christ, the 4 gospel writers, and 4 saints. The figures are painted in a realistic style and were installed in one piece by the John Kinsella Glass Company of Chicago. This was innovative at the time because typically each color of stained glass would be installed separately. Additionally, the stained glass is thickly leaded and not common for the era. Charles Hummel II, grandson of the architect, notes that, "What is remarkable are the painted parts are only reserved for faces and hands." Furthermore, he explains that 4 saints depicted in the windows have particular significance to Boise. Saint Rita represents the eponymous society that played an active cultural role in Boise at the time. St. Patrick pays tribute to the first Catholic church in Boise. The first Catholic hospital in Idaho was named St. Alphonsus, and St. Teresa represents Boise's first Catholic academy, now Bishop Kelly High School. In response to the Vatican Council II reforms of the 1960s, a committee composed of Charles Hummel II, architect grandson of the original designer, Father Tom Fauché, a parish priest and liturgical expert, and Robert Rambusk, a New York specialist in church interiors, proposed a remodeling program to meet the new liturgical guidelines. The committee also proposed a thorough cleaning. Because of the original coal furnace and candle chandeliers, a significant amount of soot covered the interior and exterior of the cathedral. With a budget of $351,423, renovations began on Easter Monday 1979 and were on a strict schedule to be completed 6 months later. The most visible change was in the lighting as the candle chandeliers were replaced by soft uplights on the cornices. Removing 50 years of soot from the decorated canvas ceiling revealed its original bright colors, and interior walls were painted a lighter color, brightening the entire space. A key addition during the Vatican II remodeling is the Holy Spirit stained glass window in the center of the apse. Though part of the cathedral's initial design, the back of the main altar would have hidden the window, so it was never installed. Added in 1979, modeled after a window in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome and produced by the Rambusk Company, it is the only modern stained glass in the cathedral. The latest restoration of St. John's commenced on the cathedral's 100 years anniversary and focused primarily on landscaping and the basement, where the chapel and parish hall are located. The architects, Rob Thornton and Russ Phillips, transformed the chapel into a 24 hours adoration chapel accessed separately from the cathedral. The remodel included new marble floors, pews, altar, and exposed the original sandstone walls. After 2 renovations, St. John's has retained its original style and use. Its intricate Romanesque architecture is so admired that there are weekly tours meet a curious public's demand to know more about the building. Today, the state's oldest firm, Hummel Architects, still displays the cathedral on its website as one of its proudest legacies. Feast Day, 27 December. The feast day of St. John in the Catholic Church, Anglican Communion, and the Lutheran calendar, is on 27th of December, the 3rd day of Christmastide. In the Tridentine calendar he was commemorated also on each of the following days up to and including 3rd of January, the octave of the 27th of December feast. Mass time. Weekdays, 8:30 a.m., 12:15 p.m. Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. Saturdays, 8:30 a.m., 5 p.m., Vigil. Sundays, 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., in Spanish, 5 p.m. Church visiting time. Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Fridays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Saturdays and Sundays, closed. Contact info. Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist, 807 North 8th Street, Boise, Idaho, 83702, United States. Website, www.boisecathedral.org. How to reach the cathedral. Eckhart International Airport in Boise, Idaho is the nearby airport to the cathedral. Main Street Station in West Main Street, Boise, Idaho is the nearby train station to the cathedral. If you wish to know more about Catholic shrine basilicas, Marian shrines and Marian apparitions, subscribe to our Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Like and share with your loved ones. For more churches website www.catholicshrinebasilica.com.